Alex had always thought that his life would be simple and ordinary. He lived in a quiet town, went to school, and spent most of his free time exploring the forest near his home. But all that changed when his mother remarried. His new stepfather brought along a daughter named Lyra, someone Alex had only met a few times during awkward family dinners. She was quiet, always keeping to herself, and seemed to carry a sadness that Alex could not understand. It was winter, and the snow had come early this year. The forests were covered in a thick white blanket, and the trees looked like crystal sculptures under the soft sunlight. Alex loved the snow. He loved the way it muffled sound, the way it sparkled, and the way it made the world feel calm and magical. That morning he decided to take a walk alone, needing a break from the crowded house and the noise of holiday preparations. As he walked deeper into the forest, he noticed something strange. The snow, which was perfectly smooth just moments ago, was disturbed by footprints, but these footprints were unlike any he had seen before. They were too large to be a human's and too narrow to be a normal animal's. Alex paused, curiosity mixing with a small spark of fear. Then he heard it, a soft, muffled sound, almost like crying. It was faint, carried by the wind, but it sent a shiver down his spine. He froze, listening carefully. Yes, it was definitely crying. Alex's heart beat faster. He wasn't sure what he would find, but something inside him told him he had to follow it. He moved quietly, careful not to make any noise. The crying grew louder as he approached a small clearing. There, in the middle of the snow, crouched a girl. She was hugging her knees to her chest, shivering. Her long hair was dark and tangled, and her face was pale. Tears rolled down her cheeks, freezing in the cold air. Alex's breath caught in his throat. He recognized her immediately. It was Lyra, his stepsister. But she looked so small, so fragile, and so alone that Alex felt a pang of worry he hadn't expected. "Lyra?" he called softly, stepping closer. The girl stiffened. Her head snapped up and her eyes, wide and wild, met his. Alex noticed something strange. Her eyes were not quite human. They glimmered with a golden hue, reflecting the sunlight like two little suns. For a moment, Alex felt a flicker of fear. "Stay back," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Please, just leave me alone." Alex raised his hand slowly, showing he meant no harm. "I won't hurt you," he said gently. I want to help." Lyra shook her head, hugging herself tighter. "You don't understand," she said. "You can't help me." "No one can." Alex stepped closer, ignoring the cold that bit at his fingers. "I might not understand everything," he admitted, "but I know you're hurting, and I can't just leave you here like this." For a moment, Lyra looked like she might run. Then slowly, she relaxed slightly. Though she didn't speak, Alex took that as a small victory and sat down on the snow a few feet away, careful not to scare her. "Why are you out here alone?" he asked softly. Lyra hesitated. Her gaze dropped to the snow and she bit her lip. I needed to be somewhere no one could find me," she said finally. "Somewhere." "Quiet," Alex nodded. "I get that. Sometimes I feel the same way. But crying alone in the snow isn't safe. You could get sick, or worse." She looked at him, her golden eyes glimmering with a mix of anger and fear. "You don't know what it's like," she said. "You don't know what I am." Alex tilted his head, curious. "What do you mean?" Lyra's hands tightened around her knees. "I'm different," she whispered. "I'm not like other people. I never can be." Alex felt a strange chill run through him, though not entirely from the cold. "Different how?" he asked carefully. Lyra didn't answer at first. She stared into the forest as if hoping the trees would swallow her up. Then, almost in a rush, she said, I'm a werewolf," Alex blinked. He wasn't sure what he had expected, but he hadn't expected that. "A werewolf?" he repeated slowly. Lyra nodded, her eyes welling up again. "I didn't ask for this. I didn't choose it, and now I can't control it sometimes. I hurt people without meaning to, and I'm so scared." Alex could see the fear in her eyes, the raw, unfiltered panic of someone who had carried a secret for too long. Despite the shock, he felt a surge of protectiveness. "Hey, it's okay," he said softly. "I won't leave you. I promise. Whatever you are, whatever happens, I'll help you." For a moment, Lyra just stared at him, disbelief written all over her face. Then slowly her body relaxed and she let a single tear fall. Alex offered her his hand again, and after a long pause, she placed hers in his. "You really mean that?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I do," Alex said firmly. "I won't tell anyone. I just want to help you feel safe." Lyra swallowed hard, nodding. Okay. Okay. They stayed in the clearing for a while, sitting quietly. The snow fell softly around them, covering their tracks and making the world feel distant. Alex talked about small things, funny moments at school, the way the snow looked on the rooftops, the smell of pine in winter. Slowly, Lyra began to relax. She even smiled a little, the first sign of warmth Alex had seen from her. Hours seemed to pass in that quiet, frozen space. Alex learned that Lyra had always felt different, even before the change. She had been strong, fast, and instinctive in ways that humans could not be, and when the transformation had started during a full moon months ago, she had panicked. She ran, hiding in the woods, terrified of hurting anyone. Since then, she had avoided everyone, even her family. Alex listened carefully, never judging, never interrupting. He realized how lonely she must have felt, and how brave she was to survive on her own. The more he learned, the more he wanted to help her. As the sun began to set, painting the sky with soft pink and orange hues, Alex knew it was time to leave the forest. "Come on," he said gently. "Let's go back to the house. You don't have to be alone out here anymore." Lyra hesitated, looking at the deep forest that had been both her prison and her sanctuary. Then with a small nod, she stood, brushing snow from her clothes. Alex stayed close, ready to protect her if anything went wrong. The walk back was quiet but not uncomfortable. Lyra seemed to draw strength from Alex's presence, and Alex felt a new sense of responsibility he hadn't expected. He realized that life had changed forever, for both of them. And somehow he felt ready for it. When they reached the edge of the forest, the house came into view, warm lights glowing in the windows. Lyra paused, looking at it with a mixture of fear and longing. Alex gave her a reassuring smile. "You'll be safe inside," he said. "And I'll be there too." Lyra took a deep breath, then stepped forward. For the first time in months, she didn't feel completely alone. And for Alex, the fear he had felt at discovering her secret was replaced with determination. He would help her no matter what. That night, as they entered the house, the snow falling silently behind them, a bond was formed, one built on trust, courage, and the quiet understanding that they would face whatever came next together. Outside, the moon rose high, casting its silver glow over the snow. Lyra looked at it, feeling its pull but also feeling something new. Hope. And Alex knew, without a doubt, that life had become far more extraordinary than he had ever imagined. The days after Alex discovered Lyra in the snow were different. He could feel the weight of her secret, but instead of fear, he felt determination. He wanted to help her. Lyra, for her part, was cautious. She had spent months alone hiding her secret, and trusting anyone was not easy. Yet she had accepted Alex's presence, and that small opening of trust was enough to start building a connection. One afternoon, Alex found Lyra sitting quietly in her room, staring out the window at the snow-covered garden. The sunlight sparkled on the ice, making everything look magical. He knocked gently on the door. "Can I come in?" he asked. Lyra turned slowly. "Yes, you can," she said softly. Her voice was low, almost unsure. Alex stepped inside, careful not to startle her. "I was thinking," he began, sitting on the edge of her bed. "If you want, I can help you practice controlling your powers." Lyra's golden eyes widened slightly. She had never told anyone before how hard it was to manage her transformations. You want to help me?" she asked, her voice a mixture of hope and fear. "Yes," Alex said simply. "I don't know everything, but I can learn with you. We can figure it out together." Lyra looked down at her hands. The shadows of her fear flickered across her face, but finally she nodded. "Okay, but we have to be careful. If anyone saw me, or if I lose control..." Her voice trailed off, and Alex knew she meant the danger of hurting someone unintentionally. "I understand," he said. "We'll do this in secret. No one will know." They started small. Alex researched everything he could find about controlling werewolf instincts, though most books were vague and old, filled with myths. Still, there were some hints: breathing techniques, focus exercises, and ways to stay calm under stress. Alex adapted these ideas, turning them into practical exercises for Lyra. The first exercise was simple: learning to control her breathing. Lyra lay on her back in the living room, her eyes closed while Alex guided her. "In and out. Slowly," he instructed. "Focus on the rhythm. Imagine the wolf inside you listening to your heartbeat, not taking over." Lyra nodded, trying to match her breathing with his voice. At first it was difficult. Her instincts wanted to burst out, especially when she felt her wolf's energy stir. But Alex's calm presence helped. Slowly, she began to feel a small sense of control, a tiny pause in the storm inside her. Over the next few days, they practiced more exercises. They worked on visualization. Lyra imagined herself as both human and wolf, two halves that could exist together. She practiced moving quietly, controlling sudden bursts of strength and observing the world without acting on instinct. Alex encouraged her, never judging, always patient. One evening, the full moon began to rise, casting its silver light across the snow outside. Lyra froze as she saw it. The pull was strong, a magnetic force that made her pulse race. Alex noticed her tension immediately. "It's okay," he said gently. "We'll do this together. You're not alone." Lyra hesitated but nodded. They walked carefully into the forest, away from any neighbors or the town. The snow crunched under their feet, and the trees seemed to lean closer as if curious about the pair moving through the winter silence. The moon climbed higher, bathing the forest in soft silver light. Lyra's body began to tremble, not from cold but from the pull of her wolf instincts. Her golden eyes glowed faintly. Alex stayed close, keeping his voice calm. "Focus on your breathing," he said. "Listen to me. You are in control." Lyra clenched her fists, struggling against the surge of power. Then slowly, almost painfully, her body began to change. Fur sprouted along her arms and legs, her senses sharpened. Her hearing picked up even the tiniest sounds of the forest. Alex watched with a mixture of awe and care, never turning away, never panicking. "You're doing it," he said softly. "You're controlling it." Lyra's wolf form was smaller than a wild wolf, graceful and sleek. She trembled but did not attack, did not run. Alex guided her, telling her to focus on calm thoughts, on her trust in him, on her desire to be both human and wolf. Slowly, the transformation stabilized. She crouched on all fours, looking at him with a mixture of fear and wonder. I did it," she whispered. Her voice was now more confident, yet tinged with disbelief. "I stayed in control," Alex smiled. "You did, and you will do it again. Every time you'll get stronger." Lyra let out a soft, almost shy laugh, the sound echoing in the quiet forest. "I never thought I could feel this free," she said. "It's strange, but good." Alex nodded. "That's the idea. You're not a danger. You're special, and you can be both you and the wolf." They spent the night practicing small movements, running lightly through the snow, testing her senses and her control. Alex noticed how natural she became as the wolf, yet how she still retained her human awareness. It was amazing, almost magical, and he couldn't help but feel proud. As dawn approached, Lyra returned to her human form. The silver light of early morning filtered through the trees, catching on her wet hair. She looked tired but happy. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for staying, for helping me." "You don't need to thank me," Alex said, smiling. "You trusted me. That's enough." They walked back to the house silently, but there was a new understanding between them. Lyra felt less alone, and Alex realized that this secret, as strange as it was, had drawn them closer than he had ever imagined. The next days were filled with small victories. Lyra began sharing more about her past, the times she had tried to hide in the forests during full moons, the moments of fear and loneliness, the accidents that had made her withdraw from everyone. Alex listened, never interrupting, always offering comfort. One afternoon, while they were in the garden, Lyra hesitated before speaking. "Alex, can I ask you something?" "Of course," he replied. "Do you ever feel scared?" she asked, her golden eyes meeting his. Alex thought for a moment. "Yes," he said honestly. "Sometimes. But fear doesn't have to control us. We can face it together." Lyra nodded, smiling faintly. "I want that. I want to be brave." "Like you?" Alex chuckled softly. "You already are. You just need to believe it." Their bond grew stronger. Alex learned to understand her moods, the subtle signs that the wolf inside was stirring. Lyra learned to trust him, to believe that someone could stand by her without fear or judgment. And together they practiced in secret, under the sun and the moon, slowly mastering the balance between human and wolf. But even as they grew stronger, Alex noticed something troubling. Sometimes, in the quiet moments, Lyra's ears twitched toward the forest, her eyes narrowing as if sensing something far away. She didn't tell him what she saw or heard, but Alex could feel her tension. One night, as they were preparing to sleep, Lyra whispered, "Alex, I think someone or something is out there watching." Alex's heart skipped a beat. He wanted to dismiss it as imagination, but something in her voice told him it wasn't. "We'll figure it out," he said firmly. "Together, like always." Lyra nodded, feeling a mixture of fear and hope. For the first time in months, she didn't feel completely alone. The wolf inside her stirred, but instead of panic, there was a strange comfort. Alex was there, and together they could face whatever came. Outside, the moon shone brightly, a silent guardian in the sky. Lyra watched it for a long time before closing her eyes, feeling its pull but also feeling Alex's steady presence beside her. And in that quiet moment, she realized something she hadn't believed in a long time. She was not a danger. She was not alone. She was strong, and she could be both human and wolf. And Alex, watching her sleep, knew that their journey had only just begun. The forest was full of mysteries, dangers, and challenges. But he also knew one thing for certain. He would never leave Lyra's side, no matter what came. The bond between them, forged in trust, courage, and understanding, had become stronger than fear. And as the first light of morning touched the snow, Alex realized that life was about to become far more extraordinary than he had ever imagined. Winter had deepened, and the forest surrounding Alex's home had become a silent kingdom of snow and ice. The trees were heavy with frost, and the snow underfoot made every sound echo. Alex and Lyra had continued their secret training, and while progress was steady, a sense of unease began to settle in the air. Lyra's instincts were growing stronger, but so were the shadows in the forest. One afternoon, while Alex and Lyra were practicing control exercises near a frozen stream, Lyra suddenly stopped. Her ears twitched and her golden eyes scanned the forest with intensity. Alex noticed the change immediately. "What is it?" he asked, concerned. Lyra did not answer at first. She crouched low, her body tense, and sniffed the cold air. Someone, she whispered. "I can feel it. They are near." Alex felt a shiver run down his spine. "Are they dangerous?" Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Possibly. I don't know yet. But we have to be careful." The forest around them seemed to hold its breath. The snow-covered branches creaked as the wind shifted. Suddenly, a low growl echoed in the distance, sharp and deliberate. Lyra's fur bristled and her wolf instinct surged. "They're not alone," she said, her voice tense. "There's a group. A pack. They're not like me. They're wild." Alex's heart pounded. He had expected to help Lyra control her powers, but he hadn't imagined facing other werewolves so soon. "What do we do?" he asked, trying to stay calm. Lyra looked at him, determination in her eyes. "We prepare. We stay together. And we don't let them know how strong I can be. Yet." They moved carefully through the forest, staying low and quiet. Lyra guided Alex, teaching him to read the signs she used to sense danger. The faint smell of other creatures, the way snow shifted under invisible footsteps, the subtle sounds of breathing and movement. Alex followed her instructions, amazed at her skill. Despite her youth, she seemed to know the forest better than anyone else. As dusk approached, the growls grew louder and the pack drew nearer. Lyra and Alex found a small clearing surrounded by dense trees. Lyra crouched low, signaling Alex to stay behind her. "We need a plan," she whispered. Alex scanned the area. "We can use the trees for cover," he suggested. "And if they come too close, we can make noise to distract them." Lyra nodded. "Good, but remember, Alex, don't get too close to them. They are dangerous." Night fell and the forest transformed. The shadows grew longer, the moonlight brighter on the snow. Then from the darkness, figures emerged. Large, wolf-like creatures, their eyes glowing in the silver light. The rogue pack. They moved with purpose, sniffing the air, searching for something or someone. Lyra growled low in her throat, her body trembling with a mix of fear and readiness. Alex's pulse raced, but he stood firm, trusting her judgment. The leader of the pack stepped forward, larger than the others, with sharp teeth glinting in the moonlight. Lyra's instincts flared, warning her of the danger. She could fight, but she needed Alex to stay calm. "Stay behind me," she whispered. "I'll handle this." Alex nodded, though his heart pounded. He had never imagined a night like this, standing in a snow-covered forest facing creatures that could kill with a single strike. But he trusted Lyra. He had to. Lyra transformed swiftly, her human form melting into the sleek, powerful shape of a wolf. Her fur shone under the moonlight and her golden eyes glimmered with intelligence and control. The rogue pack froze for a moment, sensing the difference. Lyra was not one of them. She was controlled, disciplined, and not driven by instinct alone. The leader lunged, but Lyra was ready. She dodged gracefully, her movements precise. Alex watched, holding his breath, as Lyra circled the pack, her strategy clear. She used her speed and agility to confuse them, leading them away from Alex and deeper into the snow. Alex realized then that Lyra's control over herself was extraordinary. She was not just a werewolf, she was a protector, a guardian. And he felt a surge of pride and admiration for her. The pack regrouped, snarling, and tried to trap her. Lyra growled louder, standing her ground. Alex saw her eyes flash with determination. "You can do this," he whispered to himself, cheering her silently. Suddenly, one of the pack members charged at Alex. He froze, unsure what to do, when Lyra leapt in front of him, intercepting the attacker. The snow erupted under the force of their movement, and Alex could see the raw power of her wolf form. She fought with precision, not reckless rage, striking in ways that incapacitated without killing. The rest of the pack hesitated, sensing the strength of their opponent. Lyra's eyes glowed and her posture radiated control and fearlessness. One by one, the pack members backed away, realizing they could not easily overcome her. Alex, though still tense, felt a wave of relief. Lyra was protecting him and she was in control. The danger was real, but so was her strength. When the pack finally retreated into the shadows, Lyra transformed back into her human form. She was panting, exhausted, but her eyes shone with triumph. Alex ran to her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You did it," he said, his voice full of awe. You really did it." Lyra nodded, a small smile forming on her lips. "I had to," she said. "For you. For us." Alex helped her walk back toward the house, supporting her when her legs wobbled. The night air was cold, but they both felt a warmth that came from trust and shared courage. Back in the safety of the house, Lyra sat by the fireplace, letting the heat thaw her frozen fingers and toes. Alex handed her a cup of hot chocolate, and they sat together in comfortable silence for a while. "You know," Alex said softly, "I never imagined I'd be standing in a forest at night, watching my stepsister fight off a rogue werewolf pack." Lyra laughed quietly, the sound mingling with the crackling of the fire. "I never imagined I'd have someone like you beside me," she admitted. "I thought I had to face everything alone." "You're not alone anymore," Alex said firmly, "and I'm not going anywhere." For the first time in months, Lyra felt a sense of relief that had nothing to do with controlling her powers. It was the relief of knowing she had an ally, someone she could trust completely, and Alex realized that fear could be faced and overcome when you had someone standing with you. The next days were filled with careful planning and more training. Lyra's confidence grew with every exercise, and Alex learned to anticipate the subtle signs when her wolf instincts were stirring. They practiced running through the snow, hiding in the shadows and controlling sudden bursts of strength. But the encounter with the rogue pack had left a mark. Both of them knew that the forest was not entirely safe, and that other dangers might be waiting in the darkness. Yet they also knew something more important. Together they could face anything. One morning, while they were clearing the snow from the garden, Lyra looked at Alex with a serious expression. "Alex, the pack will be back," she said quietly. "I know," Alex replied calmly. "And next time we'll be ready." Lyra nodded, feeling a strange mix of fear and determination. She had learned to trust herself, and now she was learning to trust Alex completely. And Alex, in turn, had learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it. As the sun rose, casting golden light over the snowy forest, Alex and Lyra stood side by side. The snow glistened under their feet, the trees swayed gently in the wind, and the forest seemed to hold its breath once more. Danger would come, they knew, but so would courage, loyalty, and the bond they had forged. And in that moment, Alex realized something he had always believed but now understood more deeply. Humans could be brave. Wolves could be controlled, and together they could face anything, even the darkest shadows of the forest. The journey was far from over, but one truth remained clear. Alex and Lyra were stronger together, and whatever the future held, they would face it side by side. The weeks after the encounter with the rogue pack had brought a new rhythm to Alex and Lyra's lives. The snow-covered forest, once a place of fear and isolation, had become their training ground, their sanctuary, and their bond. Lyra had grown stronger, more confident in her control, and Alex had grown more aware of the forest's hidden dangers. Together, they had learned the power of trust, courage, and unity. One crisp morning, Alex found Lyra sitting at the edge of the frozen pond in the forest, watching her reflection in the ice. The sunlight sparkled on the surface, making it shimmer like glass. She looked calm, almost serene, but Alex could see the alertness in her eyes. Even in moments of peace, the wolf inside her remained aware, always alert to danger. "You've come a long way," Alex said softly as he approached. Lyra turned and smiled, a genuine warm smile that reached her eyes. "I have," she admitted. "I didn't think I could control it. All of it, but now, I feel like I understand myself better." Alex nodded. "And you've taught me a lot too," he said, "about trust, courage, and what it means to fight for something important." Lyra's ears twitched slightly and her golden eyes scanned the forest. "There's more to it than control," she said thoughtfully. "There's balance. I need to accept both sides of me, the human and the wolf." Alex crouched beside her. "And you can. You're already doing it. Look at how far you've come." They sat together in silence for a while, listening to the soft whisper of the wind through the trees. The forest, though still quiet and snowy, felt alive in a new way. It was no longer a place of fear. It was a place of strength and discovery. As evening approached, Lyra suggested they practice a new exercise, one that combined her wolf senses with human strategy. They moved through the forest quietly, Alex following her instructions. He learned to anticipate her movements, reading the subtle shifts in her posture, the way her eyes flicked to the shadows. Lyra moved with grace and precision, her body fully aware of the balance between her human mind and her wolf instincts. Suddenly, a familiar growl echoed in the distance. The rogue pack had returned. Lyra's fur bristled, but instead of fear, there was determination in her stance. She turned to Alex. "Stay calm," she instructed. "We know how to handle this now." The pack emerged from the shadows, their eyes glowing with challenge. But Lyra didn't hesitate. She transformed swiftly, her human form melting into the sleek, controlled shape of a wolf. Alex felt a surge of admiration as he watched her. She was not just a wolf, she was a warrior, disciplined and aware, moving with a balance of strength and intelligence. The rogue pack lunged, but Lyra was ready. She used her speed and agility to outmaneuver them, striking with precision to disable without causing harm. Alex stayed close, helping guide her through the forest, using his knowledge of terrain and strategy to anticipate the pack's movements. Together, they became a seamless team, human and wolf working in harmony. The battle lasted only a few tense moments. The pack, realizing they were outmatched, retreated into the shadows, disappearing into the night. Lyra transformed back into her human form, breathing heavily but smiling with triumph. "You did it," Alex said, placing a hand on her shoulder. "We did it together." Lyra nodded, a glow of confidence in her eyes. "Together," she agreed. "I couldn't have done it without you." The forest fell silent once more, but the sense of victory lingered. Lyra and Alex walked back toward the house, their steps light despite the exhaustion. The snow crunched underfoot, but it no longer sounded threatening. Instead, it was a rhythm that matched their newfound unity. Back at the house, they sat by the fireplace, letting the warmth seep into their frozen bodies. Lyra sipped a cup of hot tea, and Alex watched her with pride. She had grown so much in a short time, not just in control of her powers, but in understanding herself and her place in the world. "I feel different," Lyra said softly, almost to herself. "I feel like I belong, like I'm not just surviving anymore. I'm living," Alex smiled. "You do belong. You always have. And you're not alone anymore. I'll always be here for you." Lyra's eyes glistened, not with fear, but with gratitude. "Thank you, Alex," she whispered, "for everything." As the days passed, their bond continued to grow. Lyra learned to embrace her dual nature, no longer seeing it as a curse but as a gift. She spent her days exploring the forest with Alex, practicing control and discovering the joys of her wolf senses. She could run faster, see farther, and hear more than any human. But she could also think, plan, and care like a human. The combination made her feel whole. Alex, for his part, learned to appreciate the strength and resilience of humans in a new way. He realized that courage wasn't just physical. It was the willingness to face fear, to trust others, and to act for the greater good. And standing beside Lyra, he felt stronger than he ever had before. One afternoon, while they were resting on a hill overlooking the forest, Lyra turned to Alex. "Do you ever wonder," she asked, "what other challenges are out there? Other packs? Other creatures?" Alex thought for a moment. "I do," he admitted. "But I also know that whatever comes, we'll face it together. And we'll be ready." Lyra smiled, the warmth of the sun on her face and the snow sparkling around them. "Together," she echoed. The winter passed and spring began to peek through the snow. The forest transformed once again, but Alex and Lyra's bond remained unchanged. They had faced fear, danger, and uncertainty, and had come out stronger. They had discovered the power of trust, the importance of courage, and the beauty of acceptance. One evening, as the sun set in brilliant shades of pink and orange, they walked through the forest, side by side. Lyra stopped and looked at the horizon. "I used to cry alone in the snow," she said quietly. "I used to feel like no one could understand me." Alex put a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "And now?" he asked. Lyra smiled, her golden eyes shining. "Now, I know I'm not alone, and I know I'm strong, stronger than I ever thought I could be." Alex nodded. "And you'll keep getting stronger, because you're brave, and because you're not alone anymore." They continued walking, the snow crunching under their feet, the forest alive with the sounds of life returning in spring. The rogue pack had not returned, and the danger that once haunted the woods seemed distant. But Alex and Lyra knew that challenges would always exist, and they were ready. For Lyra, the wolf inside her was no longer a source of fear. It was a part of who she was, a reminder of her strength, her courage, and her resilience. And Alex, walking beside her, knew that humanity itself could rise to challenges, adapt and grow, even in the face of the unknown. As night fell and the moon rose high, casting its silver light across the forest, Lyra looked up and felt the familiar pull of the wolf inside her. But this time there was no fear, only confidence, only acceptance. She was in control. She was herself, and she was not alone. Alex watched her transform once more, the wolf appearing sleek and graceful under the moonlight. He felt pride, admiration, and something deeper, a sense of wonder at the courage and resilience of both humans and wolves. Lyra ran through the forest, agile and powerful, then returned to his side, her human eyes shining with joy. Together they faced the night, the forest, and whatever else might come. Their bond had become unbreakable, forged through trust, courage, and understanding. And as they walked home through the snow side by side, Alex realized that life would never be ordinary again, and he was glad. Because in discovering Lyra, helping her and trusting her, he had discovered something even more extraordinary: the strength of family, the power of trust, and the courage that could rise from even the coldest, darkest places. And as they entered the warmth of their home, leaving the snow and shadows behind, Lyra knew that she would never cry alone in the forest again. She was strong, she was brave, and she was not alone. Together they were unstoppable.